constate qu'il y a quorum. Je dois informer les membres que la...
I must inform the members that the clerk of the committee can only receive motions for the election of the chair. The clerk cannot receive any other type of motion, cannot entertain points of order, nor participate in debate.
To the election of the chair. Pursuant to Standing Order 106.2, the chair must be a member of the official opposition. I'm ready to receive motions for the chair. Madame Vienne.
Alors, j'aimerais proposer Madame Marie.
I'd like to move Ms. Marilyn Gladu, please, as chair of the committee.
It has been moved by Madame Vienne que Madame Gladu soit élue présidente du comité. Y a-t-il d'autres motions?
Are there any other motions?
Other motions? Is it the pleasure of the committee to adopt the motion? Thank you. I declare the motion carried and Ms. Gladu duly elected chair of the committee. I invite Ms. Gladu to take the chair.
Merci, collègues.
Thank you, colleagues, and welcome to the Committee of the Status of Women.
All. I want you to know that I have done the chair of Status of Women before, so I do have some experience in this area, but this committee does very good work, and I'm sure that we will build on the good work that's gone on in the past. Now, normally what we do on the first meeting is there are routine motions, which I believe were circulated. And these motions pertain to how we run committees, and it's how all of them are run. How many minutes do the Liberals get to speak? How many minutes the Conservatives? What order does everything go in for the first round and the second round? And then, oh, we have to elect the vice chairs. Sorry, I didn't receive that on my agenda. Let's just take a moment then and go and elect our vice chairs. We need a vice chair for each of the parties represented. So we'll turn it over to the Liberals to put someone forward to be the vice president.
J'aimerais proposer Emmanuela Lambro.
I'd like to move, yes, I'd like to move Emanuela Lambropoulos for vice chair.
Sorry, it's apparently the clerk's job.
Chair. Pursuant to Standing Order 106.2, the first vice chair must be a member of the government party. I'm now prepared to receive motions for the first vice chair.
Poser la candidature.
Inaudible, microphone, please. I was told that there was no interpretation into French. I just found it, but I didn't get it.
For anyone who doesn't know how to use these newfangled instruments, if you if you see that there's a language proposed, if you don't like it, you can change from that language to the other one or the floor where you hear everything. And then the volume up and down is on the left-hand side with the plus and minus. Ça va bien, Madame LaRouche?
Is it working, Ms. LaRouche? Inaudible, microphone, please. Oh, I'm not hearing the French.
A problème.
That might be a problem with the equipment.
I will speak in English to make sure that the translation is working. Nothing. You have to really put the volume up.
Levé. Allez-y.
All right, I'll try again. Can you hear the French translation? No. We'll just suspend until we get this fixed. Back to the clerk for the election of the vice chairs.
Okay. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the first vice chair must be a member of the government party. I'm now prepared to receive motions for the first vice chair.
Prise 3. J'aimerais proposer ma collègue Emmanuelle.
Attempt number 3, I'd like to propose move that my colleague Emanuela Lambropoulos be elected vice chair. It has been moved by Ms. Ménard that Ms. Lambropoulos be elected as vice first chair. Are there any further motions? And is it the pleasure of the committee to adopt the motion? I declare the motion adopted, and Ms. Lambropoulos is elected first vice chair. Now, pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the second vice chair must be a member of the opposition party other than the official opposition party. I am now ready to hear motions for the second vice chair. I move that Ms. Larouche be elected second vice chair of the committee.
By Ms. Lambropoulos that Madame Larouche be elected as second vice chair of the committee. Are there any further motions? No. Is it the pleasure of the committee to adopt the motion? I declare the motion carried and Madame Larouche duly elected second vice chair of the committee. Thank you.
All right, and now I have the actual order of operations here. Before we continue, I'd like to ask all in-person participants to consult the guidelines written on the cards at the table. These measures are in place to help prevent audio and feedback incidents and to protect the health and safety of all participants, including our wonderful interpreters. You will notice a QR code on the card which links to a short awareness video. If the committee is in agreement, I would invite the clerk to oh, wait, that was the first one. Then, to all members, please wait until I recognize your name before speaking, and all comments should be addressed through the chair. For members on Zoom, I don't think there are any. For members in the room, you can raise your hand, and on Zoom, they use the raise hand function. Thank you for that. So now the committee clerk has circulated a list of draft routine motions, and with the agreement of the committee, we can proceed to the consideration of those motions. Okay? Very good. So do you lead that part as well, clerk? Wonderful. Well, then what I would tell you is that these are common to all committees. As I said, it's how questions are asked in terms of how many minutes each side gets, what you do if you don't have quorum. There is information about travel, information about the subcommittee. Now, most committees have a subcommittee that is made up of the vice presidents and the chair, and essentially they consider what we should study, bring back a report to the committee for discussion, and it goes forward. I have seen other committees do something different where when they brought the reports back from subcommittee, there was a lot of back and forth and discussion amongst the members. So we ended up deciding in that committee that all the members were going to partake in the discussion. So to the will of the committee, we can do either, but what's written in the routine motions is that it's a subcommittee composed of 4 members, the chair and 1 member from each recognized party. Do we want to do these one at a time? Okay, we'll do them one at a time then. So let's start with the first one. It's analyst services that the committee retain as needed and at the discretion of the chair, the services of 1 or more analysts from the Library of Parliament to assist in its work. All in favor of that? Everybody, good. That one's carried. So I invite the analysts to come to the table. Ah, you are here. Wonderful. Bienvenue. We will provide a lot of work for you this session. Would you like some time to introduce yourself to the committee? I would love that.
Good afternoon. I'm Vanessa Preston. I was with FIWO last sitting, and I also work on other committees in the House.
Very good. All right. So we've got an analyst. The second one is the subcommittee. That the subcommittee on agenda and procedure be established and composed of 4 members, the chair and 1 member from each recognized party as designated by each party's whip, and that the subcommittee work on in the spirit of collaboration. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None. That's carried. Meeting without a quorum, that the chair be authorized to hold meetings to receive evidence and to have that evidence published when a quorum is not present, provided that at least 4 members are present, including 2 members from the opposition parties and 2 members of the government party. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Travel, that when traveling outside the parliamentary precinct, the meeting begin after 15 minutes, regardless of whether quorum is present, and no substantive motions may be moved during such meetings. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. The time for opening remarks and questioning of the witnesses, this is the standard round. Do I need to read it into the minutes? I should read it. That witnesses be given, there's no dispense in the committee, that witnesses be given 5 minutes for their opening statements, and that whenever possible, witnesses provide the committee with their opening statements 72 hours in advance, that at the discretion of the chair, during the questioning of witnesses, there be allocated 6 minutes for the first questioner of each party as follows. First round, Conservative Party, Liberal Party, Bloc Québécois. For the second and subsequent rounds, the order and time for questioning be as follows. Conservative Party, 5 minutes. Liberal Party, 5 minutes. Bloc Québécois, 2.5 minutes. Conservative Party, 5 minutes. Liberal Party, 5 minutes. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor? Carried. All right. Documentation distribution. That only the clerk of the committees be authorized to distribute documents to members of the committee, and only when the documents are in both official languages, and that all documents submitted to the committee in both official languages that do not come from a federal department, member's office, or have not been translated by the Translation Bureau be sent for linguistic review by the Translation Bureau before being distributed to members, and that the witnesses be advised accordingly. Discussion on this? All in favor? Carried. Working meals. This is terrifically important. That the clerk of the committee, at the discretion of the chair, be authorized to make the necessary arrangements to provide working meals for the committee and its subcommittees. Any discussion on this and recommendations of your favorites? Tamara.
Sorry, just a question of whether or not dietary restrictions will be solicited and accommodated.
That's a great question. Absolutely, we will. And for example, in the past, we have provided gluten-free meals, vegan meals, vegetarian meals. And so as long as the clerk knows your preferences, that's good. And my preference is lasagna with Caesar salad, and I really like the red pepper soup. Further discussion? All right, all in favor? Carried. Travel, accommodation, and living expenses of witnesses. That if requested, reasonable travel, accommodation, and living expenses be reimbursed to witnesses not exceeding 2 representatives per organization, and that in exceptional circumstances, payment for more representatives be made at the discretion of the chair. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Access to in-camera meetings. For those that are new, in-camera really means that you're not in the public realm. Is that right? It's opposite from what you would expect. That unless otherwise ordered, each committee member be allowed to be accompanied by one staff member at in-camera meetings, and that one additional person from each House officer's office be allowed to be present. That during in-camera meetings, committee members may be informed by the committee chair of the MPs who have been designated as substitutes for permanent members in order to know which MPs are authorized to speak and vote during these committee meetings. That only those who have been recognized and identified as such be authorized to speak in keeping with the usual agreed rules of order and decorum. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. You guys are so easy to get along with. You're doing great work already. All right. Oh, this was attached to the last one. It's on the second page. Administration support team must conduct technical tests to. Just 1 second. Is that technical? Witnesses. That the clerk inform each witness who is to appear before the committee that the House Administration support team must conduct technical tests to check the connectivity and the equipment used to ensure the best possible sound quality, and that the chair advise the committee at the start of each meeting if any witness who did not perform the required technical tests.
Hold on, just one moment.
Yep. No? So we did this one, right?
Transcript.
Transcript of in-camera meetings. That one copy of the transcript of each in-camera meeting be securely retained by the committee clerk for consultation by members of the committee or by their staff, and that the analysts assigned to the committee have access to the in-camera transcripts. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Notice of motion. This is very important. That a 48-hour notice interpreted as 2 nights be required for any substantive motion to be moved in the committee, unless the substantive motion relates directly to the business then under consideration, provided that the notice be filed with the clerk of the committee no later than 4 p.m. from Monday to Thursday and no later than 2:30 p.m. on Friday. B, the motion be distributed to members and the offices of the whips of each recognized party in both official languages by the clerk on the same day the said notice was transmitted if it was received no later than the deadline hour. C, notices received after the deadline hour or on non-business days be deemed to have been received during the next business day. Discussion. All in favor? Excellent. Orders of reference from the House respecting bills. That in relation to orders of reference from the House respecting bills, the clerk of the committee shall, upon the committee receiving such an order of reference, write to each member who is not a member of a caucus represented on the committee to invite those members to file with the clerk of the committee in both official languages any amendments to the bill, which is the subject of the said order, which they would suggest that the committee consider. B, suggested amendments filed pursuant to paragraph A at least 45 hours prior to the start of clause-by-clause consideration of the bill. 48. To the start of clause-by-clause consideration of the bill to which the amendments relate shall be deemed to be proposed during the said consideration, provided that the committee may, by motion, vary this deadline in respect of a given bill. And C, during the clause-by-clause consideration of a bill, the chair shall allow a member who filed suggested amendments pursuant to paragraph A an opportunity to make brief representations in support of them. Discussion. All in favor? Excellent. Carried. All right. Now we're on to administrative support, the tech tests for witnesses. That the clerk inform each witness who is to appear before the committee that the House Administration support team must conduct technical tests to check the connectivity and the equipment used to ensure the best possible sound quality, and that the chair advise the committee at the start of each meeting of any witness who did not perform the required technical tests. Discussion. All in favor? Great. Carried. Whips access to the digital binders. That the clerk of the committee be authorized to grant access to the committee's digital binder to the offices of the whips of each recognized party. Discussion? All in favor? Good. Maintenance of order and decorum. That during meetings, the chair, if necessary, uses his or her prerogative to suspend the meeting to maintain the order and decorum necessary to ensure the application of the House of Commons policies on workplace health and safety. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Okay. All right, so that's the routine motions. Before we adjourn the meeting, I was wondering if we could get the analyst, since she was on Status of Women last time, to tell us about the last 3 studies that have not yet had a report. Can you do that? Perfect.
Just a brief summary of the work that the committee conducted in the last sitting that was not completed. So there were 4 studies that were started but not completed. There was coercive behavior that the committee provided drafting instructions to the analysts. There was breast cancer, the response to the task force, the breast cancer for women over the age of 40 but under 50, which the committee provided drafting instructions. There was the study on gender-based violence and femicides that the committee also provided drafting instructions for. And the final study that was started but not completed was on 2S LGBTQ violence. But the committee did not provide drafting instructions for that final study.
Excellent. And those ones that they did provide drafting instructions, are the draft reports available, or are you intending to do those over the summer, or what's the situation?
That would depend entirely on the will of the committee.
Emanuela?
So I was going to, actually, I had a motion ready for one of the studies that had drafting instructions made but not completed. And so just given the vital, I'll read it into the, given the vital work that was done by members of, okay, no, give me a second. This is not the one. Work that was done by members of the Standing Committee for the Status of Women on Gender-Based Violence, including hearing from 38 witnesses and receiving 29 briefs, and the committee's inability to complete the report and table it due to the dissolution of the 44th Parliament. The committee ordered that pursuant to Standing Order 1082E, all witness testimony and briefs from the committee's 44th Parliament study on gender-based violence and femicides against women, girls, and gender-diverse peoples be adopted for use in the 45th Parliament, and that analysts be instructed to use this evidence, briefs, and drafting instructions from the previous members of the committees in drafting a report so that it may be tabled in the fall, and that pursuant to Standing Order 109, the committee request a comprehensive response from the government.
That motion is in order. Discussion, Madame LaRouche.
Juste pour nous inviter à...
Yes, just to make sure we have good habits, the interpreters noted that they did not receive the motion beforehand, so that can make their job much easier. So a note that we received from the interpreters, and that was for the form. Now, but in terms of the substance, yes, I support resuming the study.
Marilyn, il n'y a pas un délai de 48...
Marilyn, isn't there 48 hours notice to take a motion into consideration when it's tabled?
Topic that we're discussing, which is what we were discussing. So it's in order. Any other comments?
Just considering that the language was brought up, I do have it, if the clerk would like to distribute it in both official languages to all members of the committee.
And the translators, too. I think that would be a good idea. Any other comments about this before we put it to a vote? Madame LaRouche.
Pardon, Madame la Présidente, vous avez dit, on est toujours sur cette motion ici.
Just a question as to whether or not digital copies will normally be distributed, or whether or not, I just like to minimize the amount of paper in my life.
Normally, the ones that come with 48 hours notice will always come to you electronically. The other ones that come up during, any of the discussions that we're having will sometimes be given to the clerk in advance and distributed electronically. Sometimes if they're read out and they're not available in a paper record, sometimes the clerk actually gets them in 2 languages and sends them out to your P9s. So that's the order of operations typically. Other questions? All right, then let's call a vote on the motion. Clerk? Oh, do you want a recorded vote or not? Doesn't matter. Okay, then all in favor? All in favor? Yeah? Okay. Is everybody ready to vote?
No, it's going to take us a couple of minutes, please. 2-3 minutes, please.
Sure.
Given that there were 4 reports, 3 that were drafted when instructions were given and 1 not, why are we only doing 1 of them? Oh, there's going to be 3 more motions? Okay.
Or you can amend the existing motion to add the other reports as well.
If that's the will of the committee, I'm happy to. I did ask Madame Larouche to propose the one on coercive behavior because she was the one who presented that study last Parliament. So I wanted to give her the opportunity to do it. And the breast cancer study, I believe, was very time sensitive at the time because it was before the task force was making their new recommendations. So I wasn't sure if it was still relevant, but we can discuss that.
Let's suspend and have a discussion and come back in a couple of minutes. The standard language that comes when you bring these things forward from one session into another, which I have seen done, and there is another motion coming on the second report that we would want to bring forward. So let's deal with this one first. I think, Madame Veen, do you have an amendment that you want to move?
En fait, j'aurais un petit amendement de correction.
I have a quick amendment to correct something to really correct our, well, rather to clarify our colleagues' intentions for the analysts. All the testimony and briefs from the committee's 44th Parliament study on gender-based violence and femicides against women, girls, and gender diverse people be adopted. So it's more for the French version, really. The English would be allowed to be used, be allowed for use instead of be adopted for use. So it would be changing that word.
I don't think you need to make a change in English because adopted for use doesn't mean that you're going to continue to study. It means...
Dit adopté aux fins de leur utilisation.
In French, it could be adopté aux fins de leur utilisation, soit permis aux fins de leur utilisation. That could be the wording in French.
Fair.
So in that case, would we also need the analyst be permitted to use this evidence as opposed to instruction in the English, just the fourth, just to have the language be mirrored in both languages? All right.
It's agreed then that we can change those words like that? Okay, so the amended motion is what we will vote on. And I'd ask the clerk to, well, I'll ask first of all, is it the will of the committee to do this? Yes? You want a recorded vote or you're good to just say all in favor? All in favor. I love this committee. Great, that's carried. And Emmanuel, you have a second one? Or Madame LaRouche?
Bon, on a ces deux études qu'on a
These are two studies that we worked on. The interpreter notes that the motion was not provided to the interpreters. As Emanuela noted, that's something that I had brought forward, a topic. So given the crucial work that was done by members of the Standing Committee for the Status of Women on coercive control, including hearing from 41 witnesses, receiving 35 briefs, and the committee's inability to complete the report and table it due to the dissolution of the 40th Parliament, the committee ordered that pursuant to Standing Order 1082E, all witness testimony and briefs from the committee's 44th Parliament study on coercive control be allowed for use. I'm going to use the same word that we used last time. For use in the 45th Parliament, and that analysts be instructed to use this evidence, briefs, and drafting instructions from the previous members of the committees in drafting a report so that it may be tabled in the fall, and that pursuant to Standing Order 109, the committee request a comprehensive response from the government.
Est-ce que vous pouvez partager?
Could you please share the document, please, with the interpreters? With the Conservatives, rather.
Any discussion on the motion? What? And so the motion is amended. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? It's carried. Great. So that's good work to keep the analysts busy over the summer. All right. Now, before we adjourn, the only thing I wanted to say was you'll see.
Madame la Présidente.
Oh, Madame Larouche.
Madam Chair, Ms. Larouche, yes, I simply want to, looking forward to the fall table, notice of motion. We can discuss it when we'll be discussing the committee work, but I want to, once again, the interpreters have not been provided with the motion that certain portions of the criminal code be studied so for the safety of women and children, that witnesses be called, and that there be a certain number of meetings, and that it be reported to the House.
Committee is that the subcommittee meet to pile on all of the ideas and try to sort out what we will study in the fall. And so is it too soon to do that on Wednesday is my question.
Fine. There'll be a virtual option.
There will definitely always be a virtual option. We're talking about getting the subcommittee together on Wednesday in the 3:30 to 5:30 spot to put together all of these suggestions of what to work on and try to figure out what order we would do them in. Is it too soon for Wednesday? Too soon?
Toutes les motions qui pourraient être déposées?
We'll be looking at all the motions that can be tabled? Or are you just talking about the subcommittee or creating the subcommittee?
That have been put forward so far. So I thought that those would be brought then at the subcommittee, or do they need to come here first?
Okay.
Then would we be able to have a meeting on Wednesday and have everybody present their motions of the things that they want to bring forward? I'm just going to call it committee business, but I just want to make sure that we think we're ready to do that.
Ready to do that in terms of new studies. And I think we would appreciate a bit of extra time, but I'm sure that if it absolutely had to happen, we can come up with some great studies. But I would appreciate the extra time.
I know we could come up with amazing ideas, but it sounds like it's the will of the committee then not to sit again until the fall. And could I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn.